When Zara Ikonkwo, a brilliant black intelligence operative, infiltrates the empire of ruthless Korean mafia king Kang Tae-min as his maid, she expects lies, danger, and deception. What she doesn't expect is for him to see through her cover immediately, or for his world to reveal a conspiracy that will force her to choose between her mission and saving thousands of innocent lives. Before the story continues, let me say this. If you're still here right now, it means this story touched you, and Love and Tension is built for people like you, people who feel deeply, who believe love should hurt, heal, and change lives. More than 99% of viewers watch but never subscribe. That means every time you enjoy a story like this, there's a chance you'll never see the next one. So if these stories comfort you, entertain you, or make you feel understood, please subscribe. It's free, but it means everything to this channel. Now, let's continue. The mirror in the cramped bathroom reflected someone Zara Ikonkwo barely recognized. Gone were the sharp suits and tactical gear from her years with Interpol's organized crime unit. Instead, a plain black uniform hung loose on her frame. The white apron starched so stiff it could stand on its own. She dyed her natural coils jet black, pulled them into a tight bun that tugged at her scalp. Brown contacts covered her distinctive amber eyes, the eyes that had been her trademark during undercover operations across 3 continents. "You don't look like yourself," her handler Dimitri had said during their final briefing in the Seoul safe house 3 days ago. Good. Kang Tae-min has survived 17 assassination attempts and uncovered 23 infiltration operations. He's paranoid, brilliant, and absolutely ruthless. One mistake, Zara, and you won't just blow your cover, you'll disappear. Zara touched the small communication device embedded in her molar, state-of-the-art Israeli tech, undetectable by standard security sweeps. She had 48 hours to plant surveillance equipment in Kang's private office, copy his encrypted hard drives, and identify his connection to the Nakamoto Syndicate, the criminal network responsible for trafficking over 10,000 people annually across Southeast Asia. The hiring had been absurdly easy. Too easy, her instincts whispered. She'd applied through a placement agency that serviced Seoul's elite criminal underground, using a manufactured identity. Zara Mensa, a Ghanaian immigrant with stellar references from families in Lagos and Accra, desperate for work to send money home. Within 18 hours, she'd received a summons to the Kang estate for an interview. Now, standing outside the towering gates of the compound in Gangnam's most exclusive area, Zara steadied her breathing. The estate sprawled across what had to be 5 acres, unprecedented real estate in Seoul. Through ornamental iron bars topped with cameras disguised as decorative finials, she could see manicured gardens, a koi pond with a traditional pavilion, and the main house, a stunning fusion of traditional Korean hanok architecture and brutalist modern design. Black stone and dark wood rose 3 stories, with floor-to-ceiling windows that reflected the morning sun like obsidian mirrors. "State your business," the voice crackled from an intercom hidden in the stone pillar. "Zara Mensa, I have an appointment for the housekeeping position." The gates swung open silently. Zara walked up the crushed granite path, her shoes crunching with each step. She cataloged everything. 6 visible cameras, motion sensors disguised as landscape lighting, guards positioned at 3-point intervals around the perimeter. These weren't ordinary security personnel. They moved with military precision, earpieces visible, hands never straying far from concealed weapons. This was a fortress, not a home. The front door opened before she could knock. A woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair pulled into an elegant chignon examined Zara with hawkish eyes. Her hanbok was exquisite, deep burgundy silk with gold embroidery that probably cost more than Zara's annual Interpol salary. "I am Mrs. Back, the house manager. Follow me. No pleasantries, no smile. Zara followed the woman through a foyer that could swallow her childhood home in Lagos 3 times over. The floor was heated marble, warming her feet through her cheap shoes. Antique celadon vases worth millions stood on pedestals like casual decoration. A painting she recognized as a genuine Joseon dynasty landscape hung above a console table made of what appeared to be a single piece of Zelkova wood. Kang Tae-min didn't just have money, he had old money, cultural capital, the kind of wealth that whispered instead of shouted. You will address Mr. Kang as Sir, and only speak when spoken to. You will maintain all rooms to perfect standards. You will not enter his private office or bedroom without explicit permission. You will not ask questions about his business or his guests. You will be invisible. Invisible. Zara nearly smiled. She'd been invisible her whole life. The black girl in predominantly white Interpol operations rooms, the African agent who had to work 3 times as hard for half the recognition. She knew invisible. She could weaponize invisible. Mrs. Bake stopped before massive double doors made of what looked like reinforced steel disguised as wood. She knocked twice, paused, then knocked once more. A coded signal. Enter. The voice from inside made something primal in Zara's nervous system activate. Deep, measured, with the kind of authority that expected absolute obedience. Mrs. Bake opened the door, bowed, and gestured for Zara to enter. The office was a study in controlled power. One wall was entirely glass, overlooking Seoul's skyline. The other 3 were lined with books, leather-bound volumes in Korean, Japanese, English, and Mandarin. A desk of black walnut dominated the space, its surface holding only a laptop, a single fountain pen, and a jade seal that Zara recognized as worth at least $200,000. Behind the desk sat Kang Tae-min. Dimitri's briefing file hadn't done him justice. The photos had shown a handsome man in his late 30s, with sharp features and cold eyes. In person, Kang was something else entirely. He wore a charcoal suit tailored so precisely it looked painted on. The jacket opened to reveal a black shirt with no tie. His hair was swept back, revealing a face that could have been carved from stone. High cheekbones, a strong jaw, eyes so dark they appeared black in the morning light. A thin scar ran from his left temple to his cheekbone. The kind of mark that spoke of violence survived. But it was his stillness that unnerved her. He didn't fidget, didn't shift, didn't blink unnecessarily. He simply watched her with the focus of a predator assessing prey. Zara Mensah. He said her fake name like he was tasting it, testing its weight. From Ghana, 28 years old, previously employed by the Adeyemi family in Lagos, the Kwan family in Accra, and the Martinez family in Dubai. Impeccable references, no criminal record, no social media presence, no digital footprint before 2019. Zara's pulse spiked, but she kept her expression neutral. That last detail, he'd noticed what most wouldn't. Her cover identity had been carefully constructed, but the best covers always had a thin spot if you knew where to look. I value my privacy, sir, she said, affecting a slight accent, and my previous employers valued their discretion. Discretion, Kang stood, and Zara realized he was taller than his file indicated, easily 6'2", with the lean build of someone who practiced martial arts rather than lifted weights. He walked around the desk with measured steps, each movement economical and purposeful. An interesting word choice. Tell me, Miss Mensah, what do you think you'll see working in this house? Floors that need cleaning, laundry that needs washing, meals that need preparing. Zara met his eyes, knowing submission would seem suspicious for someone with her supposed background. Whatever my job requires, sir. Nothing more. Nothing more, he repeated, now standing close enough that she could smell his cologne, something with oud and bergamot, expensive and subtly threatening. And if you did see something more, something that troubled you, this was the test. Zara had passed dozens like it. Then I would remember that I am paid very well to clean, not to think, she said. I send money home to family in Kumasi. They depend on me. I do not risk good employment over curiosity. Something flickered in Kong's expression. Amusement, maybe, or appreciation for a well-delivered line. He circled her slowly, and Zara felt his gaze like a physical touch, cataloging every detail. She'd been examined by dangerous men before, but this felt different, clinical, like he was reading her the way she'd been trained to read others. You have calluses on your right index finger and thumb, gun calluses. Your posture is too straight for someone who spent years in domestic service. You scan rooms the way security personnel scan rooms. Corners first, exits second, threats third. And your accent, while quite good, occasionally slips when you're focused on maintaining eye contact instead of vocal control. Zara's blood turned to ice. Her mind raced through contingencies. The cyanide capsule in her back molar, the ceramic blade in her shoe heel, the window. Could she crash through it and survive the two-story fall? Kong walked back around to face her, and when she saw his expression, her analysis shifted. He wasn't angry. He was smiling. Relax, Miss Okonkwo. Or do you prefer Zara? Her real name. He knew her real name. This operation was dead. She was dead. But Kong simply returned to his desk and sat, gesturing to the chair opposite. Sit. We have much to discuss, and I dislike standing for long conversations. Zara's training warred with her survival instinct. Protocol said maintain cover until impossible. Reality said this man had already stripped it away like tissue paper. She sat. How long have you known? She asked, dropping the accent. That Interpol would send someone? 3 weeks. That it would be you specifically? 4 days, once my sources identified the new hire at the placement agency. Your legend was excellent. I particularly enjoyed the touch of the Martinez family in Dubai, since they're actual clients of that agency. But you made one critical error. What error? Kang turned his laptop toward her. On the screen was a photograph of Zara from 2 years ago at an Interpol conference in Vienna, shaking hands with the South Korean delegate to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. She was in civilian clothes, her hair natural, amber eyes uncovered, but the bone structure was identical. The delegate is my cousin, Kang said. He mentioned the impressive young agent from Nigeria who'd cracked the Romanian trafficking ring. When your legend appeared with impeccable Ghanaian credentials, I ran facial recognition against every international law enforcement database I have access to. He leaned back, steepling his fingers. I have access to many databases, Zara. The room felt too small suddenly, the air too thin. You're going to kill me. If I wanted you dead, you would have died at the gate. Probably wouldn't even have felt it. My people are quite good. Kang's expression shifted, something almost like respect entering his dark eyes. No, I have a different proposition. You're here to investigate my connection to the Nakamoto Syndicate, yes? No point in denying it now. Yes. What if I told you that I've been trying to destroy the Nakamoto Syndicate for 2 years, that my connection to them is my attempt to infiltrate their operation from the inside? Zara barked out a laugh. I'd say that's the oldest play in the book, the criminal who claims he's actually the good guy. Fair. Kang pulled out his phone, tapped something, and slid it across the desk. But criminals don't usually have these. The screen showed an encrypted email chain between Kang and someone identified only as Phoenix. The messages detailed supply routes, safe houses, and payment structures for a trafficking network moving people from Myanmar through Thailand into South Korea and Japan. But interspersed with the logistics were other notes, coordinates, police contact information, and what looked like extraction plans. You're running a counter-operation, Zara said slowly, her analyst brain engaging despite the surreal situation, getting people out. 317 people in the last 18 months, Kang said. Children mostly, some women. The Nakamoto Syndicate believes I'm distributing their product through my legitimate business networks. In reality, I'm documenting everything and smuggling out victims to safe houses run by an NGO in Busan. Why? The question escaped before Zara could stop it. Kang's expression went cold, shuddered. That's not relevant to your mission. My mission is to take down Nakamoto. If you're telling the truth, I am. Then we want the same thing. Zara leaned forward. But I need more than encrypted emails. I need proof, evidence that will hold up in international court. I have proof, hard drives full of it, financial records, communications, shipping manifests with biometric data on victims. Everything you'd need to dismantle not just Nakamoto, but 6 other syndicates they partner with. Kang's jaw tightened. But I can't hand it over. Not yet. Why the hell not? Because in 2 weeks, Nakamoto is planning something catastrophic. They're consolidating power, eliminating competition, and they're going to do it by flooding Seoul with fentanyl-laced product during the International Youth Summit. 15,000 students from 60 countries, all gathered for a week of cultural exchange. The implications hit Zara like a physical blow. They're going to poison teenagers, mass casualties that will trigger emergency lockdowns, military intervention, and complete chaos. During that chaos, Nakamoto will execute their rivals, absorb their networks, and emerge as the dominant force in Asian organized crime for the next decade. Kang stood, walking to the window. I've been building this operation for 2 years to stop exactly this moment. If you arrest me now, expose my connection to Nakamoto, the whole thing collapses, and those 15,000 kids die. Or you're lying, Zara said, though her instincts were screaming that he wasn't. This could all be misdirection to protect yourself. It could be, Kang agreed, but why I'm offering you a deal. Stay, work here as my maid, but really work with me. Verify everything I'm telling you. Access my files, my contacts, my operation. If I'm lying, you'll know within days. If I'm telling the truth, he turned to face her. Then we stop the attack together. I give you everything you need to destroy Nakamoto, and you get the biggest arrest in Interpol history. And what do you get? Revenge, Kang said simply. And maybe, finally, the ability to sleep without seeing their faces. Whose faces? The ones I couldn't save. His voice was flat, empty. Do we have a deal, Agent Okonkwo? Zara should have said no. Should have activated her emergency extraction, reported the compromised operation, and let Interpol handle it through official channels. But official channels moved slowly, and if Kang was telling even half the truth, they didn't have time for slow. Besides, her instincts, honed through a decade of undercover work in Lagos criminal underworld, Russian oligarch circles in London, and cartel operations in Mexico City, were telling her something crucial. Kang Tae-min was many things, but in this moment, he wasn't lying. 48 hours, she said. You have 48 hours to prove everything you've told me. If I'm not convinced by then, I activate my extraction, and you lose any chance of cooperation. Agreed. Kang walked back to his desk and pulled out a small box. Inside was a key card and what looked like a high-end smartphone. This card accesses every room in this house, including my private server room. The phone is encrypted with quantum technology. Nothing Interpol or Nakamoto can crack. You can contact your handler, but I'd recommend against it until you verified my claims. If there's a mole in your organization, and there almost certainly is, calling in will get us both killed. Zara took the box, her mind already working through verification protocols. Where do I start? The server room, 3rd floor, behind the bookshelf in my bedroom. Tonight at midnight, when the household is asleep. Review the files. Then tomorrow, you'll accompany me to a meeting with one of Nakamoto's lieutenants. See for yourself what we're dealing with. You're bringing a compromised maid to a criminal meeting? Kang's smile was sharp. I'm bringing my new asset to demonstrate my expanded recruitment capabilities. They expect me to have intelligence gathering resources. You'll fit perfectly. He paused. Besides, I need someone watching my back who actually knows what they're doing. My people are loyal, but they're soldiers, not spies. You're Interpol's best undercover operative in Asia. I've read your file. You have my file? I have everyone's file. It's how I stay alive. Kang walked to the door, opening it to reveal Mrs. Back waiting outside. Mrs. Back will show you to your quarters and explain your duties. Maintain your cover with the rest of the staff. As far as they know, you're simply the new maid. Trust no one until I explicitly tell you otherwise. Zara stood, tucking the box into her uniform pocket. "If you're playing me, then you'll kill me, I'm sure. You have 3 confirmed combat kills in your jacket, Agent Okonkwo. I don't doubt you'd make it 4. He tilted his head, studying her. "But I'm not playing you. In 2 weeks, thousands of children might die. Whatever else I am, I'm not the kind of monster who allows that." As Zara followed Mrs. Back out of the office, her last glimpse of Kang showed him standing at the window, shoulders rigid, staring out at the city, like a king surveying a kingdom he was trying desperately to protect or destroy. She had 48 hours to figure out which. The servants' quarters were nothing like Zara expected. Instead of a cramped dormitory, she had her own room on the 2nd floor, small but elegant, with a private bathroom, a comfortable bed, and a window overlooking the garden. Mrs. Back explained her duties with military precision: morning cleaning of the main floor, laundry and ironing in the afternoon, dinner service preparation in the evening. Sundays were off. Salary would be deposited monthly into an account of her choosing. It was all so normal, which made it deeply strange. Zara spent the day performing her duties while conducting reconnaissance. The house had 12 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, 3 kitchens, 1 for show, 1 for daily use, 1 for Mrs. Back's private cooking, a gym, a shooting range in the basement, and a panic room disguised as a wine cellar. The staff consisted of Mrs. Back, 2 cooks, 3 security guards on rotation, a groundskeeper, and a driver. None of them spoke to Zara beyond polite greetings, and she noticed they all had one thing in common: absolute loyalty to Kang, demonstrated by the way they straightened unconsciously when he passed, the way their eyes tracked him with something between respect and reverence. These weren't just employees, they were believers. At 11:47 p.m., Zara slipped out of her room, keycard in hand. The house was silent, except for the whisper of the heating system and the distant sound of traffic from the street beyond the walls. She'd memorized the guard rotation. 12 to 4 was handled by a man named Junho, who spent most of his shift monitoring cameras from the security office on the 1st floor. The blind spots were minimal but present, a quirk of the historical preservation restrictions on the original Hanok structure that prevented certain camera placements. Kang's bedroom door was unlocked. Bold, or stupid, or a test. Zara slipped inside, closing it silently behind her. The room was Spartan. A platform bed with black silk sheets, a single nightstand with a lamp and a book, The Art of War in the original Chinese, a closet that likely held more suits worth more than her life, and an entire wall of floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, each one packed with volumes in multiple languages. Zara ran her fingers along the spines until she found it, a copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, slightly protruding from the others. She pulled it, and the entire section of bookshelf swung inward with a soft hydraulic hiss. The server room beyond was a stark contrast to the traditional aesthetics of the house. Chrome racks held enterprise-grade servers, their LED lights blinking in complex patterns. A workstation with 6 monitors dominated one wall, currently displaying security feeds from around the compound and what looked like Seoul traffic cameras. The air was climate-controlled, cool and dry, humming with electricity and processing power. Kang sat at the workstation, his back to her. He'd changed into casual clothes, black jeans and a gray Henley that revealed the edges of tattoos on his forearms. He didn't turn around when she entered. Punctual. I appreciate that in an operative. He gestured to a second chair. Sit. We have a lot to cover and not much time. Zara sat, and Kang began pulling up files on the center monitor. What she saw made her stomach turn. Shipping manifests listing human beings as textiles and electronics, financial records showing payments to border officials, police officers, and politicians across 5 countries, video footage from security cameras showing children, some no older than 10, being loaded into shipping containers at the port of Yangon, communications between Nakamoto lieutenants discussing inventory and damaged goods, with the casual callousness of people discussing produce. "This is what I've compiled over 2 years," said Kang quietly. 6 terabytes of evidence, enough to prosecute 314 individuals across 12 countries, dismantle 17 shell corporations, and seize approximately $4 billion in assets. "Jesus Christ," Zara whispered, watching a video of a girl who couldn't have been more than 12, crying silently in a cage. "How are you even accessing this? Nakamoto's security should be impenetrable." "It was, until I paid someone $15 million to install a backdoor in their encryption protocol." Kang closed that file and opened another. But money only gets you so far. The real access came from this. The new file showed a photograph of Kang, maybe 10 years younger, standing next to a beautiful woman with kind eyes and a genuine smile. They were at a beach somewhere, both laughing at something off camera. Kang's arm was around her shoulders, his expression open in a way that seemed impossible now. Her name was Min Seo. She was a social worker specializing in trafficking victims. We were engaged. She was going to testify against a Nakamoto front operation she'd infiltrated. They killed her 3 days before the trial, made it look like suicide. "I'm sorry," Zara said, meaning it. "Don't be. Sorry is useless." Kang's hands tightened into fists. "After she died, I inherited her files, her contacts, her mission. I was already involved in gray areas of business. It wasn't hard to darken those grays until Nakamoto noticed and approached me about partnership. I've been their trusted distributor ever since. They have no idea I'm funneling victims out the back door and documenting every transaction." "This is why you can't just hand everything over to Interpol," Zara said, understanding clicking into place. "The moment you're exposed as a source, Nakamoto goes to ground. They have enough resources to disappear, rebuild, and in 6 months they're back to business as usual." "Exactly. We need to catch them in the act. The Youth Summit attack is their moment of vulnerability, all their leadership in one place, coordinating personally because the stakes are too high to delegate. If we can stop the attack and capture them simultaneously, with this evidence backing it up, we don't just hurt Nakamoto, we eliminate them." Zara studied the screens, her tactical mind working through scenarios. "You said you have a meeting tomorrow with one of their lieutenants. What's the purpose?" "Final confirmation of my role in the summit operation. They're trusting me with distribution logistics, getting the poisoned product into the venues without detection. I'll be receiving quantities, distribution points, and timing. Everything we need to prevent it. And if they suspect you're compromised, then they kill me at the meeting and activate a contingency plan we know nothing about, which is why I need you there. You're trained to read deception. If they're testing me, if this is a trap, you'll see it before I do." It was sound logic, which somehow made Zara more uneasy. "You're asking me to trust that you're not leading me into a trap while you're asking me to help you spot a trap. That's a lot of trust for someone who's known you for 12 hours. Kang finally turned to look at her directly. In the blue light of the monitors, his scar seemed deeper, his eyes harder. "You want proof? Real proof? Fine." He pulled up another file, and Zara's breath caught. It was an Interpol internal memo dated 3 months ago, classified top secret. The subject line read, "Operation Broken Chain, Compromise Assessment." "That's impossible," Zara said. "Those files are air-gapped, not connected to any network." "Your deputy director, Frederick Van Housen, has a mistress in Amsterdam. She likes expensive gifts. Nakamoto likes leverage. They've been reading your operational plans for 2 years through his personal laptop." Kang pulled up photographs showing Van Housen with a striking blonde woman, financial records of payments to her account, and technical specifications for a keylogger installed on his device. "Your organization has a mole at the highest level. If you call this in, Nakamoto will know within hours, and then we're both dead, and those kids still die." The room spun. Van Housen had been Zara's mentor, the one who'd recruited her out of the Nigerian police force, who'd championed her through the institutional racism and sexism of European law enforcement. If he was compromised, "How long have you known?" she asked quietly. 6 months. I was going to expose him, but then I realized the mole was actually useful. As long as I know Nakamoto is reading Interpol's mail, I can predict their moves. The moment I expose Van Housen, they plug the leak and we're blind again. So we can't trust Interpol, can't trust local police, who you've proven are on Nakamoto's payroll, can't even trust most of your own organization. Zara looked at him. We're completely alone in this. Not completely. We have each other. Kang smiled without humor. Strange how that works out. They spent the next 3 hours reviewing files. Zara verified everything she could through her own databases, using the quantum encrypted phone to access Interpol's systems through backdoors even Van Housen wouldn't know about. Every claim Kang made checked out. The trafficking routes, the victims he'd extracted, the Nakamoto organization structure. It was all documented, cross-referenced, and devastatingly real. By 3 a.m., Zara had to concede the truth. Kang Tae-min was exactly what he claimed to be, a criminal with enough conscience left to weaponize his darkness against something darker. Okay, she said finally. I'm in, fully in. What's our operational plan? Kang pulled up a new file labeled Operation Phoenix and began to outline a strategy that was equal parts brilliant and insane. They would attend tomorrow's meeting, gather the final intelligence on the summit attack, and then execute a two-pronged assault. Zara would coordinate with a carefully vetted team of Kang's people to intercept the poisoned product at the distribution points. Simultaneously, Kang would lure Nakamoto's leadership to a secondary location under the pretense of celebrating their successful operation, where Interpol's tactical team, alerted only at the last possible moment to prevent leak, would move in for arrests. The timing has to be perfect, Kang said. If we move too early, they scatter. Too late, and people die. We'll have a window of approximately 40 minutes between when product reaches the venues and when it gets distributed to kids. 40 minutes to save 15,000 lives and arrest the heads of the largest trafficking syndicate in Asia. Zara laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. No pressure. If you'd wanted low pressure, you shouldn't have joined Interpol. Kang shut down the monitors and stood. Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be educational. As Zara stood to leave, a question that had been nagging at her finally surfaced. The title thing. What you said when I first arrived about being invisible. Did you mean it? Which part? About me only speaking when spoken to. About being invisible. Kang's expression was unreadable. In that office, with Mrs. Back watching, I needed you to understand the role you'd be playing for the rest of the staff. But here? He gestured to the server room, the evidence of his secret war. Here, I need you to be entirely visible. Your skills, your insights, your experience, that's what might keep us both alive and those kids safe. So no, Zara Okonkwo, I don't need you invisible. I need you impossible to ignore. Something in his voice made her pulse spike, but she pushed it down. This wasn't attraction. This was adrenaline. The intimacy of shared danger, the human tendency to bond with allies in high-stakes situations. She'd felt it before and knew better than to confuse operational partnership with anything personal. Still, as she slipped back to her room through the silent house, Zara couldn't shake the image of Kang's younger self in that photograph, arm around a woman he'd loved enough to declare war on an entire criminal empire to avenge. That kind of devotion, twisted into vengeance, was either going to save thousands of lives or get them all killed. She had 2 weeks to make sure it was the former. The meeting was in Itaewon, in a private room above a high-end Korean barbecue restaurant that Zara's research identified as a known Nakamoto front. She dressed in the same plain black uniform, her hair still dyed and pinned, the brown contacts irritating her eyes. Kang had outfitted her with surveillance equipment disguised as uniform buttons, military-grade cameras and audio recorders that would capture everything. Stay behind me, Kang instructed, as they rode in his armored Mercedes to the location. His driver, a man named Hyun Woo, who Zara had verified was former Korean Special Forces, navigated traffic with the efficiency of someone who'd done tactical driving courses. Don't speak unless directly addressed. If anyone asks, you're my new domestic intelligence asset. I'm grooming you to manage my household information network." "Grooming," Zara repeated. "Interesting word choice. They'll understand it as exactly what it sounds like. These men view women as tools. Let them underestimate you." Kang adjusted his cufflinks. "Platinum," she noticed, "with small diamonds. It gives you advantages." The restaurant was busy with the lunch crowd, the scent of grilling meat and garlic heavy in the air. But Hyun-woo didn't stop at the main entrance. Instead, he pulled into an alley behind the building where two men in dark suits stood guard. They recognized Kang immediately, bowing deeply and opening a reinforced steel door. The stairs beyond were narrow and steep, leading up to a floor that didn't appear on the building's official plans. At the top, another door, another guard, and then they were inside. The private room was all dark wood and soft lighting, with a long table set for Korean barbecue at its center. 3 men were already seated, and Zara's training kicked in immediately, analyzing them with the efficiency of a threat assessment algorithm. The one at the head of the table was in his 60s, silver-haired and distinguished in a way that spoke of old money and older violence. His suit was Brioni, his watch Patek Philippe, and his eyes absolutely dead. This was Nakamoto's sole representative, a man Interpol had been trying to identify for a decade. Seeing his face was worth the risk of this meeting alone. To his right sat a younger man, maybe 30, with the build of a fighter and scars that suggested he'd lost a few of those fights. His hands bore tattoos that Zara recognized from gang identification databases, Yakuza affiliations, specifically the Yamaguchi-Gumi family. An enforcer then. The third man was different. Western, maybe 50, with the soft body of someone who managed violence rather than committed it. American accent when he greeted Kang confirmed it. NSA or CIA gone rogue, Zara guessed. The syndicate's technical expert. "Kangzi," the silver-haired man said, his Korean formal and old-fashioned. "Please, sit. And your companion?" "My new acquisition," Kang said smoothly, gesturing for Zara to stand behind his chair like a servant. "She's proving quite useful for household intelligence. I thought she could observe and learn how proper operations function." The enforcer laughed, a sound like gravel in a disposal. "You're training the help? That's new." "Loyalty is cultivated, Hideaki, not purchased." Kang sat, accepting a cup of tea from a server who appeared and disappeared like smoke. "Shall we discuss business or shall we waste time on pleasantries?" The silver-haired man, Zara mentally tagged him as Silver since no introductions were made, smiled thinly. Direct as always. "Very well. The operation proceeds as planned. The product has been synthesized and is currently stored at 3 separate locations for security. Your role is logistics at the summit venues." Silver pushed a tablet across the table. Kang picked it up, scrolling through what appeared to be floor plans and schedules. Zara, from her position behind him, could see enough to start memorizing details. 3 venues: Olympic Stadium for opening ceremonies, COEX Convention Center for workshops, Lotte World Tower for closing gala. 15,000 attendees plus staff and security. The dosage is calibrated for maximum impact with minimum detection time, the American said, his accent definitely East Coast. Odorless, tasteless, dissolves completely in any beverage. Symptoms present as standard food poisoning initially, nausea, dizziness. By the time anyone realizes it's coordinated, we're looking at mass casualties and complete systemic failure of emergency response. Zara's jaw tightened. These men were discussing murdering children with the clinical detachment of logistics managers. "Delivery method?" Kang asked, his voice betraying nothing. "Beverage service. Your people will replace standard drink stock at all 3 venues with contaminated inventory the morning of the opening ceremony. We've already secured the catering contracts through intermediaries. Your people go in as temp workers, make the swap, and exit. Simple. Nothing is simple when you're poisoning 15,000 people under the noses of international security," Kang said. "Walk me through the timing." For the next hour, they detailed the operation with horrifying precision. The contaminated drinks would be delivered at 6 a.m. on the summit's opening day, 2 weeks from now. Venue staff would begin setup at 7 a.m. First attendees would arrive at 9 a.m. Peak distribution would hit between 10 a.m. and noon as welcome receptions took place across all 3 sites. By 1 p.m., when symptoms started manifesting, it would be too late. Hospitals would be overwhelmed, panic would spread, and in that chaos, Nakamoto's teams would execute a series of coordinated strikes against rival operations, consolidating power while authorities were too busy with the mass casualty event to interfere. Elegant, Kang said, and Zara had to admire his acting. He sounded genuinely impressed. What's my compensation? 20 million won up front, 80 million upon successful execution, Silver said, plus guaranteed exclusive distribution rights for all Nakamoto product in Seoul for the next 5 years. We're talking about a billion won annual revenue stream. And if something goes wrong? Silver's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then you'll be one of the unfortunate victims of the tragedy, Kang-si. We've built significant redundancies into this operation. Your role is important, but not irreplaceable. Don't make the mistake of thinking yourself indispensable. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Zara saw Kang's shoulders tighten almost imperceptibly, the only sign he'd registered the warning. Understood, Kang said. When do I receive the product for distribution? 3 days before the operation. We'll deliver it to your secondary warehouse in Incheon. You'll have 48 hours to integrate it with your normal inventory and position your people at the venues. The American pulled out his phone, tapped something, and showed it to Kang. These are your access codes and contact protocols. Memorize them. This device will self-destruct in 60 seconds. Kang studied the screen, his expression neutral, then handed it back. Memorized. Good. Silver stood, signaling the meeting's end. Hideaki will check in with you daily until delivery. Any questions? None. Excellent. Gentlemen, I believe we have a historic opportunity before us. In 2 weeks, the landscape of Asian criminal enterprise changes forever. Let's make sure we're the ones holding the pen when the new map is drawn. They left without handshakes or farewells, filing out of the room like executives after a board meeting. When the door closed behind them, Kang sat motionless for 30 seconds, then stood. We're leaving, he said quietly to Zara. Now. They descended the stairs in silence. Back in the Mercedes, Hyunwoo drove them away from Itaewon without being asked. Only when they'd cleared the neighborhood and Kang had activated a signal jammer did he speak. Did you get everything? Every word, video and audio. Zara pulled out the quantum-encrypted phone, already uploading the surveillance data to Kang's secure server. We have faces, voices, operational details, everything. This is enough to brief a tactical response team. Not yet. Kang's hands were shaking slightly, the first crack in his controlled facade she'd seen. They're testing me. Did you notice Silver's phrasing? Your role is important, but not irreplaceable. They suspect something. This meeting was as much about assessing my reliability as confirming logistics. Zara replayed the conversation in her mind. The American watched you when Silver mentioned redundancies. He was gauging your reaction. Exactly. They have a backup plan if I'm compromised. Maybe another distributor already in place. Maybe a completely different delivery method. We move against them now and they adapt. Those kids still die. So what's your plan? Kang was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at Seoul passing by. We go deeper. I need to find their backup plan, identify everyone involved, and map the entire operation so completely that when we strike, there's nowhere for them to hide. That's insane. We have 2 weeks and they're watching you for signs of betrayal. Which is why I need you to do something dangerous. Kang turned to face her. The American, his name is Mitchell Thompson, former CIA technical operations officer who went private in 2015, he runs Nakamoto's digital security and communications. If anyone has the complete operational picture, it's him. You want me to get close to him. I want you to seduce information out of him, yes. Zara laughed bitterly. You assume he's interested in black women? I assume he's interested in expensive things and new experiences, which you can be if you drop the maid disguise and play a different role. Kang pulled out a different phone, a rose gold iPhone in a designer case. Thompson frequents a club in Gangnam called Vault, high-end, exclusive, international clientele. Tomorrow night, you'll be there as Zara Mensah, Nigerian socialite in Seoul for Fashion Week. You'll engineer a meeting, establish rapport, and gain access to his systems. Just like that? No, not just like that. Today and tomorrow, you'll undergo a crash course in the specific technical vulnerabilities Thompson has. You'll be briefed on his psychology, his preferences, his weak points, and you'll have support. My people will be in that club making sure you're safe. This is moving really fast. We don't have time for slow. Kang's expression softened slightly. I know I'm asking a lot. You came here for a simple surveillance operation, and I've dragged you into something significantly more dangerous. If you want out, I'll arrange your extraction right now. No judgment, no consequences. Zara considered it. Considered calling Dmitri, reporting everything and letting the official machinery handle this through proper channels. But Van Housen was compromised, which meant Interpol was compromised. And proper channels took weeks or months, time they didn't have. More than that, though, she thought about that girl in the video, 12 years old, crying in a cage. She thought about 15,000 teenagers who had no idea they were about to become casualties in a criminal power play. She thought about Kang's fiancée, Min So, who died trying to fight this exact fight. Some things mattered more than protocols. I'm in, Zara said, but I want something in return. Name it. When this is over, when Nakamoto is destroyed and those kids are safe, you give me everything, not just the trafficking evidence, everything you have on every illegal operation you've ever touched. I won't arrest you for any of it, but it all goes into Interpol's database. No more secrets, no more gray areas. You walk away clean, and you stay clean. Kang studied her for a long moment. You're asking me to destroy my own empire. I'm asking you to finish what Min So started. She was fighting for victims. You've spent 2 years fighting for revenge. Same target, different motivation. But what happens after? You dismantle Nakamoto, and then what? Build your own version of it? Become the thing you're fighting? And if I say no, then I walk away right now and you do this alone, because I'm not helping you trade one monster for another. The silence in the car stretched tight. Hyun-woo's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, watching his boss's reaction. Finally, Kang nodded. Agreed. When Nakamoto falls, my empire falls with it. You have my word. Your word? Zara raised an eyebrow. No offense, but you're a criminal. Your word isn't exactly... Kang pulled up his sleeve, revealing the edge of an intricate tattoo, a phoenix rising from flames done in traditional Korean style. In my world, this mark means something. It means I keep my promises or I die trying. Min So's ashes are mixed into this ink. Every promise I make on her memory. So yes, Agent Okonkwo, you have my word, and that's worth more than any contract. The raw vulnerability in his voice made Zara's breath catch. This wasn't manipulation. This was truth, painful and unvarnished. Okay, she said quietly. Then let's get to work. The next 36 hours were a masterclass in operational preparation. Kang's people transformed Zara from dowdy maid into international socialite with frightening efficiency. A stylist named Unji arrived at the estate with enough designer clothes to stock a boutique. Zara's natural hair was revealed, twisted into elegant bantu knots threaded with gold accessories. The brown contacts were replaced with her natural amber eyes. Makeup highlighted her bone structure rather than hiding it. When Zara looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The woman staring back looked powerful, wealthy, and completely at ease in her skin. Better, Unji said with satisfaction. Now you look like someone who belongs in Vault." While Unji worked on Zara's appearance, Kang's technical specialist, a frighteningly young hacker who went by Ghost, briefed her on Mitchell Thompson's digital vulnerabilities. Thompson's phone security was top tier, but he had a weakness for smartwatches that synced automatically with nearby devices. Ghost had built a custom app disguised as a luxury brand's companion program. If Zara could get Thompson to scan a QR code linking to what he'd think was an exclusive shopping experience, the malware would install itself and give them access to his communications. "You'll need to make it seem natural," Ghost explained, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards simultaneously. "Rich people love exclusive access. Frame it as insider knowledge. Oh, this brand isn't released in Korea yet, but I have a friend who can get you early access. He'll scan it without thinking. And if he's smart enough to be suspicious, then you've failed and we're back to plan A, which is basically hoping we can stop the attack without knowing their backup plan." Ghost's expression was grim. No pressure. The night of the operation, Hyun-woo drove Zara to Vault in a different vehicle, a white Rolls-Royce Phantom that screamed money. She wore a gold dress that hugged her curves, diamond earrings that were real, borrowed from Kang's personal safe, each one worth more than her childhood home, and heels that added 4 inches to her height. "Confidence," Hyun-woo said as he opened her door outside the club. "You belong here. Everyone else is just lucky to be in your presence." Vault's entrance was unmarked, just a black door with a single camera. Zara pressed the button and a voice crackled through a speaker. "Name? Zara Mensah. I'm on the guest list for table 7. The door clicked open immediately. Kang had called in favors to get her the table. It was apparently one of the club's most exclusive spots, visible from everywhere, but secluded enough for private conversation. Inside, Vault was exactly what its name suggested, a former bank converted into Seoul's most elite nightclub. The original Vault door stood as art installation, polished steel reflecting laser lights that cut through artificial fog. The music was deep house, loud enough to feel in your chest, but not so loud you couldn't talk. The crowd was exactly who you'd expect. Young chaebols burning inherited wealth, foreign businessmen on expense accounts, models and influencers hunting for their next opportunity. And at the bar, nursing what looked like whiskey neat, was Mitchell Thompson. He was alone, which was either good luck or a sign this was a trap. Zara ordered a cocktail from a passing server, something with champagne and edible gold flakes, absurdly overpriced, and positioned herself where Thompson would notice her without it seeming deliberate. It took less than 5 minutes. "You're new," Thompson said, sliding onto the stool next to her. Up close, he had the slightly sweaty look of someone drinking too much and the watery eyes of someone who spent too many hours staring at screens. "I know most of the regulars. You visiting Seoul?" "Visiting is such a temporary word," Zara said, letting a slight Nigerian accent color her English, not the fake Ghanaian one from her cover, but her real accent, Lagos sophisticated. "I'm considering a more permanent arrangement. The city has interesting opportunities." "Opportunities? I like a woman who thinks in terms of opportunities." Thompson signaled the bartender for another whiskey. "What brings you to Seoul specifically?" "Fashion Week, initially, but I'm in tech investment, and Asia's market is too dynamic to ignore. I've been meeting with companies, exploring partnerships." She sipped her cocktail. "What about you? You have that expatriate look. Comfortable, but not quite local." "Guilty, security consultant. I work with companies protecting their digital assets." "It's a decent cover story, technically true. It's boring work, but it pays well." "Nothing that pays well is truly boring," Zara said. "It's just code for, I can't tell you what I really do," which I understand. I can't tell you half of what I really do either. That got his interest. Mysterious. I like mysterious. They talked for an hour, Zara carefully building rapport. She name-dropped companies she knew Thompson had worked with, demonstrated technical knowledge that surprised him, and gradually shifted from professional interest to something more personal. She touched his arm when she laughed, leaned in when the music got louder, all the small signals that said she was interested without being desperate. "You know," Zara said finally, glancing at her phone, "I'm actually hosting a small gathering tomorrow at my hotel suite. Very exclusive, just a few interesting people, good wine, better conversation. You should come. I'm not really a party person. Neither am I. That's why I keep them small and selective. She showed him her phone where Ghost had built a fake event page. Look, even the invite is digital. I hate paper waste. Here, scan this and you'll have all the details. She held out the QR code, and Thompson pulled out his phone without hesitation. The code scanned. The malware installed silently. Ghost's voice crackled in her nearly invisible earpiece. Got him. We're in. I'll think about it, Thompson said, pocketing his phone. Where are you staying? The Shilla, Presidential Suite. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Dress code is interesting. Zara finished her drink and stood. And now I have an early meeting, so I should go. It was lovely meeting you, Mitchell. Wait, I never told you my name. Zara smiled. You're wearing a Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime. There are only 7 in private hands in Asia. I make it my business to know who owns rare things. Good night, Mitchell. She walked away, knowing his eyes were following her, knowing she'd done exactly what she needed to do. In the Rolls-Royce, Hyun Woo had Ghost on speaker. We're downloading everything, Ghost said, excitement in his voice. Emails, texts, encrypted chats. Jesus, this guy keeps everything on his watch. It syncs to his phone, which syncs to his laptop. We're going to have the entire Nakamoto digital architecture by morning. Will he notice the breach? Zara asked. Not unless he's looking for it specifically. The app runs silent, doesn't drain battery, and deletes itself after 72 hours. By the time he might notice anything, we'll have what we need. Back at the estate, Kang was waiting in his office. He'd changed into training clothes, black gi pants and a tank top that revealed the full extent of his tattoos. Both arms were covered in traditional Korean imagery. Tigers, dragons, phoenixes, all done in incredible detail. Success? He asked. Complete success. Ghost is downloading everything now. Zara kicked off the heels with relief, her feet screaming. Thompson bought the whole performance. He'll show up tomorrow thinking he's going to a party, find out it's fake, and probably be embarrassed but won't suspect digital compromise. Good. Come with me. Kang led her down to the basement, past the shooting range to a room she hadn't seen before. Inside was a martial arts dojo, traditional mats, weapons on the walls, mirrors covering one side. A heavy bag hung in the corner, and a training dummy stood in the center. What is this? Zara asked. Your crash course in staying alive, Kang said. You did well tonight, but we're moving into the operational phase now. You'll need to be able to defend yourself if things go wrong. I saw your Interpol file. You've got hand-to-hand training, but it's been 3 years since your last combat refresher. We're fixing that now. For the next 2 hours, Kang put Zara through combat drills that made her Interpol training feel like aerobics. He was fast, brutal, and utterly without mercy. Every time she dropped her guard, he struck. Not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to sting, to teach. You're thinking too much, he said, after she'd ended up on her back for the 5th time. Combat isn't chess, it's reaction. Your body should know what to do before your brain catches up. Easy for you to say, Zara gasped, sweating through her expensive dress. You've been doing this your whole life. So have you. Your whole life has been survival, just different tools. Kang offered her a hand up. Lagos street fights, Interpol operations, tonight at Vault manipulating Thompson. It's all combat. You just need to stop separating them in your mind. It's all the same skill, reading your opponent, finding their weakness, and exploiting it before they do the same to you. He was right, and Zara hated that he was right. She'd spent her career compartmentalizing. The street kid from Lagos who'd fought for scraps was separate from the polished Interpol agent, but they were the same person, the same instincts. Again, Zara said, getting back into stance. They trained until dawn, until Zara's muscles were jelly and her mind was sharp and clear from endorphins. When Kang finally called a halt, she was surprised to find herself disappointed. Despite the exhaustion, she'd felt more alive during those hours than she had in years. You're good at this, Kang said, tossing her a towel. If you ever get tired of Interpol, I could use someone like you. I thought your empire was getting dismantled after this operation. Doesn't mean I can't appreciate talent, he smiled, and for a moment Zara saw the young man from the photograph, the one who'd loved Min So with enough intensity to spend years avenging her death. Get some sleep. Ghost will have the download ready by afternoon, and then we plan our endgame. The data from Thompson's devices was intelligence goldmine. Ghost had pulled every email, text, and encrypted chat from the last 6 months. Zara and Kang spent the next 3 days analyzing it all, building a complete picture of Nakamoto's operation. What they found was worse than expected. The Youth Summit attack wasn't just about consolidating power. It was about starting a war. Nakamoto had been manipulating tensions between rival syndicates for months, feeding information to each side, escalating conflicts. The Summit attack would be blamed on the Shinsengai clan, a Japanese group that Nakamoto had been secretly undermining. The resulting chaos would give Nakamoto the excuse to absorb Shinsengai's networks, expand into Japan, and establish themselves as the dominant criminal force in Asia. It's brilliant and horrifying, Zara said, studying the flowcharts Ghost had created showing all the connections. They're not just poisoning kids for power. They're using those deaths to justify a territorial expansion that will give them control of trafficking routes worth billions annually. And their backup plan is just as bad, Kang added, pointing to a separate email chain. If the beverage contamination fails, they have teams ready to release aerosolized toxin through the HVAC systems at all 3 venues. Same effect, different delivery. Can we stop both? Not without tipping them off that we know. The moment we move against one vector, they'll activate the other. Kang ran his hands through his hair, frustration evident. We need them to believe everything is proceeding normally right up until the moment we spring the trap. Zara studied the timeline. The product delivery is in 3 days. You're supposed to receive it at your Incheon warehouse, store it for 48 hours, then deploy your people to the venues the morning of the summit. What if we intercept it during delivery? They'll have security on that shipment. If even one guard doesn't check in, Nakamoto knows something's wrong and activates the backup plan. So we let the delivery happen, you take possession of the product, but we swap it with harmless liquid. Nakamoto's people deployed to the venues thinking they're poisoning drinks, but actually they're just, distributing expensive water? Kang's eyes lit up. That could work. We'd need to replicate the packaging exactly, make sure the swap happens in a time frame where surveillance doesn't catch it. Your warehouse has a blind spot in the camera coverage, Zara said, pulling up the security plans Ghost had hacked from the Incheon facility. Northeast corner, 3rd bay, 20-second gap between camera sweeps. We could have a team in position, do the swap during the blind spot, and Nakamoto never knows until it's too late. But the HVAC backup plan remains active. If kids aren't getting sick from the drinks, they'll activate it. Which is when we need to have Interpol's tactical teams in position at all 3 venues, ready to move the second we give the signal. Zara started sketching out the operational timeline. We can't brief them too early because of Van Housen's leak, but if we wait until the morning of the summit, prep tactical teams as special security for a different threat, maybe a bomb scare or terrorism intel, we can have them in place without Nakamoto knowing. That's a lot of moving parts that all need to work perfectly. You have a better idea? Kang was quiet for a long moment. No, but I have an addition. We need to take down their leadership simultaneously. If we stop the attack but let them escape, they'll rebuild and try again. We need to end this permanently. How do you propose we do that? The celebration Thompson mentioned during our meeting. When they think the attack has succeeded, Nakamoto's sole leadership will gather to toast their victory. Thompson, Silver, Hideaki, and at least 3 other high-ranking members according to these emails. If we can lure them all to one location where Interpol can arrest them with overwhelming force, they'll never agree to a location they don't control, Zara pointed out. They will if they think they're coming to claim their prize. Kang pulled up a property deed on his screen. I own a yacht, 90 meters, moored at Busan Marina, capable of reaching international waters in under 2 hours. Tomorrow, I'm going to suggest to Thompson that we celebrate our success in style. Private cruise, champagne, the works. They'll see it as me consolidating my position in their organization, showing off my resources. And really, it's a floating prison where they can't escape when tactical teams board. Exactly. Zara studied the plan from every angle, looking for flaws. There were dozens, any one of which could collapse the entire operation, but there was no perfect strategy, just the least bad option. "Okay," she said finally, "but we need insurance. If anything goes wrong, if they detect the swap, if tactical teams are compromised, if the yacht plan fails, we need a way to stop this that doesn't rely on perfect execution." "What kind of insurance?" "The kind that might cost us everything." Zara met Kang's eyes. "We expose the whole operation live broadcast, social media, every news outlet we can reach. The moment we think this is going sideways, we dump all the evidence, the files, the videos, the communications, and make it impossible for Nakamoto to operate in the shadows. That would expose my role, my 2 years of work, everything I've built. Yes, and it would also guarantee the summit gets canceled, the venues get swept for threats, and 15,000 kids stay safe. It's the nuclear option, but we need it ready to deploy." Kang was silent for a long time, staring at the evidence they'd compiled. Finally, he nodded. "Ghost, can you prepare a dead man switch? If we don't check in every 6 hours starting the day before the summit, everything gets auto-published to every major news organization and law enforcement agency in Asia?" "Can do," Ghost said from his workstation across the room. "But boss, that means if you die during this operation, your name gets dragged through mud along with Nakamoto's." "I know. Do it anyway." The certainty in Kang's voice made Zara reassess him again. He'd spent 2 years building this operation, maintaining his criminal cover, living a lie to get close enough to Nakamoto to destroy them. And he was willing to sacrifice all of it, his reputation, his empire, possibly his freedom, to make sure those kids stayed safe. That was either nobility or obsession, or both twisted together so tightly they couldn't be separated. "We have 72 hours until delivery," Kang said, shifting back into operational mode. "Ghost, I need complete schematics of the Incheon warehouse, guard rotation schedules, and a list of people we can trust for the swap team. Zara, you'll brief the team on tactical procedures. Hyun-woo, prepare the yacht and crew. Make sure everyone on board knows this is a trap being sprung, not a celebration." Everyone moved with purpose, the pieces falling into place. Zara felt the familiar pre-operation tension settling into her bones, the heightened awareness, the constant mental rehearsal of contingencies, the knowledge that in 3 days, people would live or die based on decisions made in this room right now. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dimitri. "Status update required. Van Housen asking questions." Zara typed back. "Situation complex. Need another week radio silent. Will explain when I extract." The reply came quickly. 1 week. Then I'm pulling you out regardless. 7 days. She had 7 days to stop a mass casualty attack, dismantle Asia's largest trafficking syndicate, and somehow keep herself and Kang alive in the process. No pressure at all. The product delivery went exactly as planned, which made Zara more nervous than if something had gone wrong. Thompson's people arrived at the Incheon warehouse in armored trucks, offloaded 20 cases of what appeared to be premium bottled water, and departed after Kang signed the receiving documents. The security was tight, but not paranoid. They believed they were dealing with a trusted partner, which meant the real test came 90 seconds later. Kang's swap team, 4 people Ghost had verified as completely loyal and capable, moved with synchronized precision. The cases were wheeled into the blind spot, the poisoned bottles were removed and replaced with Ghost's perfect replicas in 18 seconds. The original deadly product was loaded into a van and driven to a facility where it would be properly destroyed. And Nakamoto suspected nothing. Phase 1 complete, Ghost confirmed from his monitoring station. No alerts, no unexpected communications. They think everything's normal. Good, said Kang. Now we wait. The waiting was the hardest part. 2 days of maintaining absolute normalcy, while knowing that in 48 hours, everything would either fall perfectly into place or collapse catastrophically. Zara spent the time doing final equipment checks, reviewing tactical plans, and trying not to think about the 15,000 variables that could go wrong. On the morning of the summit's opening day, Zara woke at 4 a.m. to her phone buzzing insistently. It was Kang. "We have a problem." She was dressed and in his office in under 3 minutes. The monitors showed news feeds from multiple sources, all covering the same story. The Youth Summit's opening ceremony had been moved up by 4 hours due to a scheduling conflict with the Korean president's itinerary. "They're arriving at 5 a.m. instead of 9 a.m., Kang said, his voice tight. "Nakamoto's deployment teams won't be in position for another 2 hours. If they can't contaminate the beverages before kids arrive, they activate the backup plan," Zara finished. "The HVAC system. Ghost, can you hack building management systems and shut down air handling?" "Already tried," Ghost said from his workstation, fingers flying across keyboards. "Their systems are isolated from the network for exactly this reason. I can't access them remotely. Then we go manual, physical access to each building's mechanical room, shut down the HVAC before they can weaponize it." Zara was already pulling up building schematics on her tablet. "How many people do we have we can deploy right now?" 12 if we empty the estate completely, Hyun-woo said, appearing in the doorway. "But 3 venues, and we don't know which mechanical room at each location they're targeting. Olympic Stadium has 6 HVAC zones, COEX has 8, Lottie Tower has 12, Ghost said, pulling up the data. "That's 26 different potential injection points. Even if all 12 of us deployed, we couldn't cover them all." Zara's mind raced through scenarios. They could call in a bomb threat, evacuate the venues, but that would tip off Nakamoto, who would simply try again later. They could alert venue security, but which security guards were compromised? The emails had mentioned assets in place at all 3 locations. "We need more people we can trust, and we need them now," Zara said. "Kang, what about your other operations? The people you've been using to smuggle trafficking victims out? Those are volunteers, activists, social workers, not trained for this kind of direct action. But they're people Nakamoto doesn't know about, people who can move through these venues without triggering alerts." Zara started typing on her phone. "And I have one more resource, a teammate from my Lagos days who's now private sector in Seoul, former Nigerian police tactical unit. If anyone can organize a civilian force into an effective counter-operation in under 90 minutes, it's her." "Do it," Kang said. "Ghost, pull up everything we have on Nakamoto's HVAC plan. Specific locations if we have them, best guesses if we don't. Hyun-woo, get everyone armed and ready to deploy. We have 1 hour before first attendees arrive and approximately 2 hours before Nakamoto realizes their primary plan failed and activates backup." The next hour was controlled chaos. Zara called in every favor she had, activating a network of people who'd operated in the shadows of Seoul for years, activists, former law enforcement, people who'd been fighting trafficking and exploitation through unofficial channels. Kang's people provided weapons, communications equipment, and tactical briefings. By 5:30 a.m., they had 28 people positioned across 3 venues, each one assigned to a specific HVAC zone, with instructions to prevent anyone from accessing mechanical rooms until after the opening ceremonies concluded. It wasn't enough. It couldn't possibly be enough, but it was all they had. "First attendees arriving now," Ghost reported from his mobile command center, a van parked 2 blocks from the Olympic Stadium. "I'm monitoring venue security comms. No alerts yet." Zara was positioned inside COEX with 4 of Kang's people, dressed as convention staff. Her comm unit crackled as check-ins came from all 3 locations. "Olympic Stadium, position secure. Lottie Tower, we have visual on 2 potential hostiles near mechanical access on the 42nd floor. COEX Zone 3, possible breach attempt in progress." That was her zone. Zara moved quickly through the service corridor, her credentials, forged by Ghost, getting her through 2 security checkpoints. The mechanical room for Zone 3 was in a sub-basement accessible only by freight elevator. When she arrived, she found 2 men in maintenance uniforms trying to bypass the electronic lock with a device that was definitely not standard maintenance equipment. "Gentlemen," she said in Korean, hand resting on the concealed weapon at her back, "I'm going to need you to step away from that door." They turned, and Zara saw the moment recognition hit. Not recognition of her specifically, but recognition that she wasn't supposed to be there. The shorter one reached for something inside his jacket. Zara moved first. She closed the distance in 3 steps, striking his reaching arm with a downward block that sent whatever he'd been grabbing clattering to the floor. A pistol with a suppressor. Her follow-up was instinctive. Elbow to his solar plexus, knee to his dropping face, and he was down. The second man was faster. He had his weapon out, but they were too close for him to use it effectively. Zara trapped his gun hand, twisted, and used his own momentum to slam him face first into the concrete wall. The gun discharged with a muffled pop, the round embedding harmlessly in the ceiling. 2 hostiles down, Zone 3, Zara reported into her comm, breathing hard. Weapon discharge. We need cleanup before venue security responds. Copy that, Kang's voice came through. Team en route. Status of mechanical room. Zara checked the door. Still sealed. Secure. They didn't get inside. Good. We have similar reports from Olympic Stadium and Lottie Tower. Multiple breach attempts, all intercepted. There was tension in Kang's voice. But Ghost just picked up encrypted comms. Nakamoto knows something's wrong. They're pulling back their teams and... The comm went dead. Not static, not interference, just sudden, complete silence. Zara's tactical instinct screamed danger a split second before she heard it. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving with military precision, coming from both ends of the corridor. She was trapped. Meanwhile, at the Olympic Stadium, Kang stood in the security office he'd commandeered, watching Ghost frantically work to restore their communications network. The young hacker's screens showed what Kang already knew. Nakamoto had deployed a signal jammer, cutting them off from their deployed teams. How long to bypass? Kang demanded. 10 minutes? Maybe 15? They're using military-grade equipment. Ghost stopped mid-sentence, his face going pale. Boss, you need to see this. He pulled up a video feed that made Kang's blood turn to ice. It was from a security camera at Coax, timestamp 3 minutes ago. Zara, surrounded by 6 men in tactical gear, forced to her knees with guns to her head. And standing behind her, smiling at the camera like he knew Kang was watching, was Silver. It's a message, Hyun-woo said quietly from behind Kang. They know she's working with you. They're using her as bait. Kang's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Come alone to Coax Basement Level 3 in 20 minutes, or she dies. And Kangxi, we know about the yacht. We know about the swap. We've known since the beginning. You're not nearly as clever as you think you are. The room went silent. Everything they'd planned, every move they'd made, Nakamoto had been ahead of them the entire time. It's a trap, Hyun-woo stated the obvious. You go there, you die. Probably her, too. Kang stared at Zara on the screen. She wasn't crying, wasn't begging. Even on her knees with guns trained on her, her expression was defiant. She was mouthing something, probably knowing he'd see this footage. He enhanced the image, read her lips. Don't come. Finish it. She wanted him to abandon her, to prioritize the mission. 15,000 kids over one agent. It was the logical choice, the tactical choice, the choice Min Seo would have made. Kang looked at Ghost. How long until the opening ceremony starts? 45 minutes. First wave of students are already in their seats. And Nakamoto's backup plan? Without comms, I can't confirm, but based on their pattern, they'll activate the HVAC attack during the opening remarks when maximum attendees are present. Call it 30 minutes from now. 30 minutes to save Zara and stop a mass casualty event. Kang's mind raced through scenarios, calculating odds, assessing variables. Then he stopped calculating and started acting on instinct. Ghost, I need you to do 3 things. First, activate the dead man switch immediately. Dump everything to the press and law enforcement. I don't care if it exposes me. Second, send the yacht coordinates and all our evidence directly to Interpol's regional director, not Van Housen. Include proof of Van Housen's compromise. Third, hack the venue PA systems at all 3 locations. I need to be able to broadcast to everyone simultaneously. Boss, if we dump everything now, Nakamoto will know we have no leverage. They already know. This text proves it. They've been playing us from the start." Kang pulled on his jacket, checking the weapons concealed beneath. But they made one critical miscalculation. "What's that?" Hyun-woo asked. "They think I'll choose between saving Zara and stopping the attack." Kang's smile was cold. "I'm going to do both. Hyun-woo, take command here. Get our people to those mechanical rooms and seal them. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, you blow those HVAC systems manually if you have to. That would cause millions in property damage. The legal fallout will be my problem, not yours." Kang was already moving toward the door. "Ghost, send me Zara's exact location and any intel on how many hostiles are holding her. Sending now. Kangxi?" Ghost's voice was uncertain. "This is suicide." "Probably," Kang agreed. "But some things are worth dying for. Make sure her sacrifice meant something. Make sure all of this meant something." He left before anyone could argue further. Zara had been in worse situations. Not many, but some. She'd been held captive by Romanian traffickers in Bucharest for 3 days before extraction. She'd been tortured by a Mexican cartel enforcer for information she'd never give. She'd nearly died 4 times in Lagos during an operation that went sideways. But this felt different. This felt final. Silver paced in front of her, his expensive shoes clicking on the concrete floor. The 6 guards surrounding her were professionals. She could see it in their stance, their discipline. No cowboy heroics, no amateur mistakes, just efficient killers waiting for orders. You know what disappoints me most? Not that Kang betrayed us. I expected that eventually. Criminals rarely stay loyal when conscience gets involved. No, what disappoints me is that you, Agent Okonkwo, fell for such an obvious manipulation.
"What are you talking about?" Zara kept her voice steady. "The meeting at the restaurant, the files he showed you, the tragic backstory about his dead fiancée?" Silver smiled. "We fed him all of it. Every document, every communication, every piece of evidence he showed you, we created it specifically to make him think he was infiltrating us, when really we were controlling him, and through him, controlling you." The words hit like physical blows. "You're lying." "Am I? Think about it, Agent. How did a street-level criminal like Kang suddenly access our highest-level communications? How did he extract 300 victims without us noticing? Because we let him. We created the perfect hero narrative for him to believe, knowing his guilt over Mincio's death would make him desperate to be that hero. And when Interpol sent you, and yes, we knew you were coming, we knew he'd recruit you to his cause. Why?" The question came out as barely a whisper. "Because Interpol was getting too close to our real operations. We needed a distraction, a crusader with a tragic past, an idealistic agent, a dramatic plot to stop a mass casualty event." Silver gestured theatrically. "All of it was misdirection. While you two played hero, our actual expansion into the pharmaceutical industry proceeded exactly as planned. The Youth Summit attack? That was never real, just bait to keep you focused while we moved 10 tons of precursor chemicals through Seoul Customs yesterday." Zara's mind raced. If this was true, if everything Kang had shown her was manufactured, no, she'd verified information independently. She'd seen things that Nakamoto couldn't have faked, unless they'd compromised her verification methods too. "I don't believe you," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "You don't have to believe me. You'll be dead in..." Silver checked his watch. "Approximately 12 minutes when Kang arrives. We'll kill you both, make it look like a tragic finale to a rogue operation, and Interpol will spend the next decade trying to figure out what happened while we operate completely free. He won't come." "Of course he will. He's in love with you, didn't you notice? The way he looks at you, talks to you, you're not just an ally to him, you're Mincio 2.0, his chance at redemption. He'll walk into any trap to save you." Before Zara could respond, one of the guards spoke. "Sir, we have movement. Stairwell B, one individual, matches Kang's profile." Silver's expression brightened. "Excellent. Let's give him a proper welcome." Stairwell B.
Kang descended the stairs with measured steps, every sense heightened. The building was eerily quiet. Ghost had managed to evacuate this section by triggering a false fire alarm 2 levels above. It gave Kang approximately 8 minutes before security overrode it and came investigating. 8 minutes to rescue Zara, neutralize Silver's team, and somehow prevent a mass casualty event he was no longer certain was real, because Silver's text had made him question everything. If they'd known about the yacht, about the swap, about the operation from the beginning, how much of what Kang thought he'd discovered was real? He thought about the files Mincio had left him. He'd never questioned their authenticity because they'd confirmed what he wanted to believe, that he could avenge her death by becoming something better than he was. But what if that was the lie? What if Nakamoto had killed Mincio specifically to create him? A puppet dancing on strings he couldn't see, doing exactly what they wanted while thinking he was fighting them. The doubt was poison, but Kang couldn't afford it right now. Real or manufactured, Zara was in danger. That part was definitely true. He reached basement level 3 and paused at the door. Through the small window, he could see the corridor beyond. Empty. Too empty. Classic ambush setup. Kang pulled out his phone and opened an app Ghost had designed. It connected to his earpiece and the micro camera hidden in his jacket button. Ghost, you watching? I see what you see. Thermal scan shows 8 heat signatures in the room at the end of the corridor. 7 standing, 1 kneeling. That's Zara. Weapons? All of them. You're outgunned and outmanned. This is still a terrible idea. Noted. Kang drew his own weapon, a Heckler & Koch VP9, custom suppressor. Plan B ready? Standing by. But boss, if you trigger Plan B, there's no coming back from it. I know. Kang stepped through the door. The corridor was approximately 30 meters long. Every step echoed, despite his careful movement. They wanted him to know they were waiting, wanted him off balance. He obliged by appearing nervous, hurried steps, weapon held slightly wrong, the posture of someone acting on emotion rather than training. The door at the end of the corridor opened when he was 10 meters away. Silver stepped out, flanked by 2 guards. Kang Si, punctual as always. Please, come in. We have much to discuss. Kang entered the room and took in the tactical situation instantly. Zara on her knees, center of the room. 6 guards in a loose circle around her, weapons trained. Silver behind a concrete pillar that provided excellent cover. The room was a former mechanical space, empty except for some old pipes and ductwork. No windows, 1 exit, a kill box. I'm here, Kang said. Let her go. In time. First, I want you to understand something. Silver's tone was almost gentle. Everything you thought you were doing, the hero's journey, the redemption arc, saving victims and fighting the good fight, it was all theater. We wrote the script. You just performed it beautifully. Kang let confusion cross his face. What are you talking about? He's lying, Zara said from the floor, trying to make you doubt. Don't listen. One of the guards struck her across the face. Kang's finger tightened on his trigger, but he held fire. The files you showed Agent Okonkwo, the evidence you compiled, even the victims you think you saved. We controlled all of it. You were never infiltrating us, Kang. You were our asset. Silver smiled. And now you've served your purpose. You've distracted Interpol, exposed their internal mole for us, and conveniently gathered all the evidence of our operations in one place so we can destroy it. Thank you for your service. Kang's mind worked furiously. Silver was either telling the truth, in which case everything Kang had done for 2 years was worse than meaningless, it was actively helping Nakamoto, or this was psychological warfare designed to break him at the critical moment. Either way, the tactical situation remained unchanged. Get Zara out alive. If I was your asset, Kang said slowly, why kill me now? Why not keep using me? Because Agent Okonkwo is too smart. She'd eventually figure it out, and we can't have Interpol knowing our methods. Better to close this chapter dramatically. Star-crossed allies die together fighting an imaginary threat. Very poetic. There's a problem with your story, Zara said, spitting blood. She'd been working at her restraints while they talked. Kang could see the plastic zip ties cutting into her wrists, could see her methodically loosening them. Good. One question, Kang said. Min So, did you really kill her, or was that manufactured too? Something dark flickered across Silver's expression. Oh, that was real and necessary. She was actually getting close to our real operations. The rest we built around her death, but her death itself, that was pure business. The confirmation hit Kang like a physical blow. For 2 years he'd wondered. Now he knew. And now Silver would pay. Ghost, Kang said quietly into his comm. Plan B, now. Executing, came the response. Exactly 3 seconds later, every light in the building went out. In the darkness, Kang moved. Darkness was Kang's element. He'd trained in it since childhood, when his father, before the old man had drunk himself to death, had taught him that shadows were a weapon. The guards had night vision, but night vision had a fatal flaw. It took 3 seconds for the optics to engage after sudden darkness. Kang needed only 2. His first shot was auditory targeting. The guard to Zara's left had shifted his weight, boot scraping concrete. The suppressed round caught him in the throat. The second guard swung toward the muzzle flash, exactly as Kang predicted. Kang had already moved, firing twice more. 2 bodies hit the floor. Lights! Get the fucking lights! Silver's voice, tinged with panic now. Zara moved in the darkness, her hand finally free. She swept the legs of the guard behind her, grabbed his weapon as he fell, and put 3 rounds into the remaining guards with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times before. 5 seconds, 7 hostiles down. But Silver was gone. Kang heard the door slam. The emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in red. You good? Kang asked, helping Zara to her feet. I've been better. She wiped blood from her split lip. We need to stop him. If he gets word out, Ghost is jamming all communications in 3-block radius. Kang moved to the door, checking the corridor.
Empty. But Silver's smart. He'll have contingencies.
Then we end this now.
Zara grabbed a tactical vest from one of the downed guards, checking the spare magazines. Where would he run? Kang closed his eyes, thinking like his enemy. Silver was old school, cautious, always had an exit plan. In a building lockdown scenario, the service tunnels. Coax connects to the subway system through maintenance access. He'll try to disappear underground. They ran. Yun-Woo coordinated the teams with military precision, his voice calm despite the chaos unfolding across 3 venues. Zone 4, Olympic Stadium, mechanical room secured, hostile neutralized. Lot Tower, zones 1 through 6, clear, no toxin deployment detected. Coax, static, then nothing. Coax team, report. Yun-Woo's jaw tightened. Coax, do you copy? Ghost looked up from his screens, face pale. We lost the Coax team. Last telemetry showed... Oh, God. What? They're not using the HVAC system at Coax. They're using the convention center's main air circulation. Feeds into the attached shopping mall and subway station. If they release toxin there, we're not talking 15,000 casualties. We're talking 50,000, maybe more. Yun-Woo grabbed his weapon. Get me building schematics, now. Already on your tablet. But Yun-Woo, the circulation system is automated. Even if we shut down the mechanical room, there are 17 secondary intake points. We can't cover them all. Then we don't cover them, we destroy them. Yun-Woo was already moving, gathering the remaining team. Full demolition. We blow the entire air circulation system. The building will be uninhabitable for months, but 50,000 people stay alive, Ghost finished. Do it! The tunnels were a labyrinth of concrete and pipes, lit by emergency lights every 30 meters. Kang and Zara moved through them fast but careful. This was ambush territory. Contact your Interpol handler, Kang said as they ran. Tell him everything. Even if Van Housen is compromised, your handler can go directly to the Korean National Police.
Already tried. Signal still jammed. Zara checked her phone. Ghost's blackout is too effective. We're dark until we get out of range. They rounded a corner and nearly ran into a body. One of Nakamoto's men, dead from a gunshot wound to the chest. Fresh blood, less than a minute old. Silver's cleaning house, Kang observed, killing his own people so they can't talk, which means he's running scared. Good. Zara stepped over the body. Scared people make mistakes. They found 2 more bodies before they caught up to Silver himself. He was in a junction point where 3 tunnels met, arguing with someone on a satellite phone, the only type that would work through Ghost's jamming. When he saw Kang and Zara, his expression went from frustrated to coldly calculating. I was just calling in reinforcements, Silver said, lowering the phone slowly. But perhaps we can settle this like civilized people. You tried to murder 15,000 children, Zara said flatly. Civilization is off the table. But did I? Or did I simply create the illusion of attempting to murder 15,000 children while my real operation proceeded unnoticed? Silver smiled. Even now you don't know what's real and what's theater, and that uncertainty will eat at you forever, Agent Okonkwo. Kang raised his weapon. Last words? Just one observation. Silver seemed completely calm despite the gun pointed at his head. You're about to execute an unarmed man in cold blood. That makes you a murderer, not a hero. Is that what Min Seo would have wanted? The words hit their target. Kang's hand wavered. Don't, Zara warned. He's manipulating you. Of course I am, Silver agreed, but that doesn't make it less true. You've spent 2 years telling yourself you're on a righteous mission, but look at what you've become, Kang Si. Look at the bodies you've left behind, the laws you've broken, the life you've destroyed, your own life. Was it worth it? Kang's finger tightened on the trigger. Every instinct screamed to end this, to put a bullet in Silver's smug face and be done with it. But Min Seo's voice echoed in his memory. The moment we become what we fight, we've already lost. He lowered the weapon slightly. You're right. I'm not a murderer. I'm something worse. I'm a man with nothing left to lose except his principles. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything. The real operation, the real plan, all of it. And then you're going to prison for the rest of your life. And if I refuse, then I don't shoot you, I let her interrogate you. Kang nodded toward Zara, and Agent Okonkwo learned her questioning techniques in some very unpleasant places. Your choice. Silver's confident mask slipped. He looked at Zara, saw something in her eyes that made him step backward. You're bluffing. Interpol doesn't torture. Interpol doesn't, Zara agreed, her voice ice cold. But I'm not representing Interpol right now. Right now, I'm representing every person you've trafficked, every life you've destroyed. And I am very creative when properly motivated. She wasn't bluffing. Kang could see it in her posture, hear it in her voice. Zara Okonkwo had been pushed past her breaking point, and right now she was absolutely capable of doing whatever was necessary. Silver saw it too. Fine. The pharmaceutical operation was real. 10 tons of fentanyl precursors moved through Seoul Customs yesterday. But the summit attack? He laughed bitterly. That part was real too. Not theater, not misdirection. Completely real. I lied before to break your morale. You're lying now, Kang said. No, I'm really not. Silver's composure cracked completely. The attack is happening in, he checked his watch, 7 minutes. And even if you stop the HVAC deployment, we have a secondary team with aerosolized toxin in pressurized containers. They're in the venues right now, dressed as photographers, security, catering staff. When the opening ceremony begins, they release the canisters. Everyone within a 100-meter radius dies within minutes. Zara's phone suddenly buzzed. They'd moved far enough from Ghost's jamming. Messages flooded in. The most recent was from Hyun Woo. Coex team down. Found secondary attack vector. Need immediate guidance. How many teams? Kang demanded, pressing his gun against Silver's forehead. How many people with canisters? 3 teams, 3 venues, 9 people total. Silver's voice was steady again, accepting his fate. You can't stop them all. Even if you call in the Korean National Police, they can't evacuate 50,000 people in 7 minutes. You lose, Kang-si. You lose, and those deaths are on your conscience forever. Kang's mind raced through impossible calculations. 3 venues, 9 attackers, 7 minutes. Even with Hyun-woo's teams, even with Korean police, even with everything. Unless, Zara said slowly, an idea forming, we don't try to stop them. We let them reveal themselves. What? She was already typing on her phone, opening the app Ghost had given her. Ghost said he could hack the venue PA systems, right? We broadcast a message, security alert. All personnel with respiratory equipment report to security checkpoints immediately for verification. Anyone carrying a canister of aerosolized toxin would match that description. They'd have to either report and be caught or run and identify themselves. They'd just ditch the canisters and blend in, Silver said. Not if the canisters are expensive, Kang said, understanding Zara's logic. Not if they're specialized equipment that can't be easily replaced. Nakamoto's people are loyal, but they're also professionals. They won't abandon mission-critical equipment unless they absolutely have to. And the ones who do ditch them, Zara continued, we track with venue security cameras. Ghost can run facial recognition, identify them, have police pick them up before they leave the area. It was insane. It relied on Nakamoto's people behaving exactly as predicted, on Ghost's systems working perfectly, on a dozen other variables aligning. But it was the only plan they had. Kang called Ghost. Can you do it? Already setting it up. Give me 90 seconds to hack into venue PA systems and I'll broadcast whatever you want. Do it. And Ghost, activate the dead man's switch. Send everything to the press, to Interpol, to the Korean National Police. All of it, right now. Boss, that exposes you. I know. Do it anyway. Kang looked at Silver. You said I had to choose between being a hero and a criminal. You were wrong. I choose neither. I choose to be someone who did the right thing, whatever the cost. Silver's expression was unreadable. You're going to prison for the rest of your life. Probably. But 15,000 kids won't die. I can live with that trade. Ghost's voice came through. PA system hacked. Broadcast in 3, 2, 1. Throughout all 3 venues, the same message echoed. Attention all personnel. This is a security alert. All individuals carrying pressurized containers, respiratory equipment, or sealed canisters must report to the nearest security checkpoint immediately for verification. This is not a drill. Repeat, all personnel with pressurized containers report to security checkpoints now. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then Ghost screens lit up. Got movement. Olympic Stadium, 3 individuals deviating from normal traffic patterns. Coex, 2 people ditching bags and heading for emergency exits. Lotte Tower, wait, 4 people just converged on the same security checkpoint. They're actually reporting? Korean National Police are responding to our data dump, Ghost reported. They're deploying tactical teams to all 3 venues, ATA 4 minutes. Will they get there in time? Zara asked. Unknown, but venue security is detaining the 4 who reported. They found canisters. Jesus Christ, they found the actual canisters. This was real. This was all real. Kang felt something release in his chest. Validation, relief, horror, all mixed together. Silver hadn't been lying. The attack was real, and they just stopped it. The runners, he said. The ones who ditched their equipment, we need them in custody. Facial recognition running now, sending identities to Korean police. They're setting up perimeters around all 3 venues. Ghost paused. Boss, the news is breaking. Your data dump is everywhere. CNN, BBC, Korean Broadcasting System. Everyone's running the story. Nakamoto Syndicate exposed. Trafficking network dismantled. Mass casualty attack prevented. And my name? Front page. Criminal kingpin turned whistleblower. They're calling you a hero and a villain in the same sentence. Kang looked at Zara. Can you live with that? Being associated with me when this all goes public? I can live with saving 50,000 lives, she said simply. Everything else is just paperwork. Silver laughed, a broken, defeated sound. You actually did it. You crazy bastard, you actually did it. One question, Kang said, gun still trained on him. Why did you tell us the truth about the secondary teams? You could have let us think we'd won, let the attack proceed. Silver met his eyes. Because I'm a criminal, Kang see, not a monster. Trafficking, drugs, extortion, that's business. But poisoning children? That was always the chairman's plan, not mine. I went along because I'm a coward who values his life over his conscience. But I'm not so far gone that I can watch 15,000 kids die when I could have prevented it. So you do have a conscience, Zara said. Had. Past tense. Silver slumped against the tunnel wall. After today, I doubt it survives incarceration. Sirens echoed through the tunnels. Korean police getting closer. We need to move, Kang said. Ghost, guide us to the nearest exit point. Roger that. But boss, you know what's waiting up there, right? The police aren't coming to shake your hand. The moment you surface, you're under arrest. I know. They bound Silver's hands with zip ties and moved through the tunnels following Ghost's directions. Behind them, Kang could hear tactical teams entering the tunnel system, their radios crackling. Kang, Zara said as they walked, when we get to the surface, I'm going to try to negotiate immunity for you. Witness protection, cooperation agreement, something. You gave them Nakamoto. That has to count for... It won't, and it shouldn't. Kang's voice was calm. I've committed serious crimes, Zara. Trafficking, even if I was smuggling people out, not in. Money laundering, weapons charges, probably a dozen other things I'm forgetting. I deserve to face justice for that. After everything you've done, especially after everything I've done. He stopped walking, turned to face her. Mincio believed the law mattered, that we were all accountable, no matter the circumstances. If I walk away from this without consequences, then I'm just another criminal who got away with it. I won't dishonor her memory like that. Zara's eyes were bright. You're an idiot. Probably. But I'm an idiot who can sleep at night. Kang smiled, genuinely smiled, for the first time in 2 years. Make sure the evidence gets to the right people. Make sure the victims I extracted get proper support. Make sure Nakamoto's leadership goes to prison for life. That's all I ask. What about your people? Hyun-woo, Ghost, Mrs. Beck? Already arranged. Ghost will disappear. He's too good at it for anyone to find him. Hyun-woo has enough clean money saved to retire. Mrs. Beck, Kang's expression softened. She's Mincio's aunt. She took this job to watch over me, to make sure I didn't completely lose myself. Tell her I'm sorry I couldn't be what Mincio wanted me to be, but I hope I got close. They emerged from the tunnels into the gray morning light of Seoul. Police vehicles surrounded the exit, at least 20 cars, lights flashing, tactical teams in full gear, weapons drawn. Kang set down his gun, raised his hands. Kang Tae-min, a voice boomed through a megaphone. You are under arrest. Get on your knees, hands behind your head. He complied, moving slowly. As officers swarmed him, roughly securing his hands in cuffs, he looked back at Zara one last time. Thank you, he said, for trusting me when you had no reason to, for being the partner Mincio would have wanted me to have, for being you. Then they dragged him away, and Zara was alone with Silver and 20 police officers demanding her identification and shouting questions she couldn't hear over the roaring in her ears. She'd done it. They'd done it. 50,000 people would go home to their families tonight. Nakamoto was exposed, broken, destroyed. So why did victory feel so much like loss? Zara sat in an interrogation room at the Korean National Police headquarters, giving her statement for the 4th time. Her Interpol credentials had bought her some courtesy, but she was still being treated as a suspect. She'd worked with a known criminal, after all. operated outside official channels, possibly committed crimes herself. Dmitri had arrived 3 hours ago, furious and relieved in equal measure. You were supposed to be on a simple surveillance operation, he'd said. Instead, you prevented a mass casualty event, exposed the largest trafficking network in Asia, and somehow made Interpol look both brilliant and completely incompetent. Sorry? Zara had offered. Don't apologize. They're already talking about a commendation. But Zara, you need to know, Van Housen is under arrest. When your data dump went live, they found everything. The mistress, the payoffs, his entire betrayal. He's claiming he was conducting an unauthorized deep cover operation, but no one's buying it. And Nakamoto? 23 arrests across 5 countries, more coming. The evidence Kang compiled it's unprecedented. We're talking about cases we can build for the next decade. You did good work. Kang did good work, Zara corrected. I just helped. About Kang. Dimitri's expression had turned serious. The Korean prosecutors want him for everything. The trafficking charges won't stick since he was actually rescuing people. But the money laundering, weapons charges, organized crime statutes, he's looking at 20 years minimum. He knew that. He turned himself in anyway. He's requesting to see you before they transfer him to Seoul Detention Center. Dimitri studied her face. You don't have to go. In fact, I'd recommend you don't. Clean break, professional distance, all that. But Zara had gone anyway. Kang looked different in the orange detention jumpsuit. Smaller somehow, more human. His hands were cuffed to the table, and a guard stood by the door. But his expression was peaceful. Agent Okonkwo, he said formally. Thank you for coming. Just Zara is fine. She sat across from him. How are they treating you? With an appropriate level of suspicion and hostility. It's fine. He smiled slightly. I've been in worse places. Your lawyer says the prosecution is offering a deal. 15 years with possibility of parole if you testify against the remaining Nakamoto leadership. I'll take it. 15 years to dismantle a trafficking empire? That's a bargain. Kang leaned forward slightly. I need you to do something for me. What? The victims I extracted. They're in safe houses across South Korea. Ghost has the locations, the documentation, everything. Make sure they get proper support. Some of them want to go home, some of them can't go home. They'll need new identities, trauma counseling, job training. I set up a trust fund with my remaining clean assets, but they'll need someone to manage it, to make sure the money actually reaches them. I'll handle it, Zara promised. And one more thing. Kang pulled a chain from around his neck. The guards had allowed him to keep it. Hanging from it was a small jade pendant. This was Minsio's. She wore it every day. I've been carrying it since she died, waiting for the right time to let it go. I think she'd want you to have it. Kang, I can't. Please. His voice cracked slightly. You finished what she started. You helped me become something better than what I was. She would have liked you, respected you. Please take it. Zara accepted the pendant with shaking hands. It was warm from resting against his chest, carved with intricate patterns that caught the fluorescent light. I'll make sure her work continues, Zara said quietly. I promise. I know you will. Kang sat back. So, what's next for you? Back to Interpol? Promotion to replace Van Housen? Actually, Zara took a breath. I'm thinking about a change. Interpol is bureaucracy and politics. Important work, but slow. After the last 2 weeks, I realized I'm better suited for the fast-moving stuff, direct action. So I'm considering an offer from a new task force, Korean-based, multinational funding, focused specifically on trafficking networks. They want me to lead the Seoul division. You're staying in Seoul? Someone has to keep an eye on your operation. Make sure your people don't fall back into old habits. She smiled. Plus, I like the city. And there's unfinished business. Nakamoto is broken, but there are other organizations, other victims who need help. You're going to keep fighting? Someone taught me that some things are worth fighting for, whatever the cost. Zara touched the jade pendant. Besides, in 15 years when you get out, you'll need a job. I figure I can have an NGO set up by then. We'll need a consultant who understands how these networks actually operate. You're serious? Completely serious. You're going to serve your time, Kang Tae-min, and then you're going to spend the rest of your life making sure no one else goes through what Min So went through, what those 317 people you saved went through. Deal? Deal. His voice was thick with emotion. Thank you, Zara, for believing I could be better, for helping me get there. The guard announced time was up. As they led Kang away, he looked back one last time. 15 years, he said. 15 years, Zara confirmed. Don't be late. Zara set down the folder on the table between them. Kang looked healthier than he had in years. The prison regime of exercise and structure agreed with him. He'd been teaching literacy classes to other inmates, using his multiple languages to help people communicate with lawyers and family. Status update, Zara said, flipping open the folder. The Phoenix Foundation has now extracted and rehabilitated 1,047 trafficking victims across 8 countries. We've secured convictions against 93 traffickers, dismantled 14 criminal networks, and recovered approximately $200 million in trafficked assets, all of which was redistributed to victims. That's incredible. Kang scanned the documents she'd brought. And the Seoul operation? We partnered with your people, the ones Ghost connected us with. Turns out a lot of them wanted to keep fighting after you were arrested. Mrs. Bach is our sole director now. Hyun Woo runs security training for our field teams. Even Ghost does some freelance work when we need serious hacking. Ghost is still free? I'm impressed. He's very good at being invisible. Zara pulled out a tablet, showed him a news article. You should see this. Remember Mitchell Thompson? The American, Nakamoto's tech expert. He cut a deal, testified against everyone, provided complete access to Nakamoto's digital infrastructure. He's in witness protection now, but before he disappeared, he gave a deposition. Said you were the bravest criminal he'd ever met, and the only one he actually respected. Kang laughed. High praise from a traitor to his own organization. He also said something else. Zara found the quote in the document. He said, Kang Tae-min proved that redemption isn't about erasing your past, it's about using your past to build a better future. He knew more about criminal networks than any of us, and he used that knowledge to save lives instead of destroying them. That's not heroism, that's transformation. And transformation is harder than any crime I've ever committed. Thompson always did like philosophical observations. Kang's expression grew serious. How are you, Zara? Really? Running an organization like Phoenix, dealing with the trauma we see every day, it takes a toll. I'm managing. Therapy helps. Having purpose helps more. She met his eyes. Knowing this work matters, that we're actually changing things, that makes the hard days bearable. And your personal life? Please tell me you're not spending every waking hour on the job. Zara hesitated. There was someone, a prosecutor I worked with on one of the cases. Good person, smart, shared values. It didn't work out. Why not? Because I kept comparing him to... She stopped herself. To me? Kang asked quietly. The question hung between them, heavy with implications neither of them had acknowledged before. To what we had, Zara corrected carefully. That partnership, that absolute trust even when we shouldn't have trusted each other. That sense of purpose larger than ourselves. I haven't found that with anyone else. You will. You're brilliant, beautiful, dedicated. Stop. Zara's voice was sharper than intended. Don't do that. Don't pretend this is simple. Kang was quiet for a long moment. You're right. I'm sorry. Nothing about this is simple. 12 more years, Zara said, changing the subject. Your parole hearing is in 12 years if you maintain good behavior. I know. I've been counting. When you get out, the job offer stands. We'll need someone who understands criminal psychology, network structures, operational security. You'd be perfect. Assuming I survive 12 more years, prison is dangerous for someone with my history. You'll survive. Zara's voice carried absolute certainty. Because you're too stubborn to die before finishing what you started. And because I'll personally come in here and drag you back from whatever trouble you've gotten into. My personal guardian angel. More like your exceptionally annoyed colleague who refuses to lose a valuable asset. But she was smiling. The guard announced 5 minutes remaining. Zara gathered her documents, but Kang stopped her. Wait, I have something for you. He pulled an envelope from his jumpsuit pocket. I've been writing about my experiences, the operation, everything I learned. I thought maybe it could help other people trying to change, or people fighting what I thought. Zara opened the envelope. Inside was a manuscript, handwritten, hundreds of pages. The title read, From Darkness, A Criminal's Guide to Redemption. Kang, this is probably terrible, he interrupted. I'm not a writer, but it's honest. And maybe honesty matters more than craft. She flipped through pages, reading fragments. Redemption isn't a moment. It's 1,000 small choices, made every day to be slightly better than you were. Some days you fail. Some days you fail spectacularly. But the next day, you try again. I thought I was fighting for the dead, but I learned you can't save the dead. You can only honor them by saving the living. The hardest part of transformation isn't becoming someone new. It's forgiving yourself for who you used to be. This is good, Zara said, her voice thick. Really good. I'll get it to a publisher, someone who specializes in true crime, memoirs. This could help a lot of people. Just make sure the proceeds go to Phoenix. I don't need money where I'm going. Where you're going for the next 12 years, then you're coming to work for me, remember? I remember. Kang's smile was soft. Thank you, Zara, for not giving up on me, for seeing something worth saving. You saved yourself, she corrected. I just helped you see it was possible. The guard called time. As Zara stood to leave, Kang caught her hand, just for a second, the touch brief but electric. 12 years, he said. 12 years, she confirmed. Don't be late. The parole hearing had taken 6 hours. Zara had testified on Kang's behalf, as had Mrs. Baek, Hyun Woo, 3 former trafficking victims he'd saved, and a prison chaplain who spoke about Kang's work with inmates. The board had deliberated for 47 minutes before granting parole with conditions: mandatory therapy, restricted travel, regular check-ins with a parole officer, and employment in a pre-approved position. The Phoenix Foundation had been pre-approved 6 months ago. Now Zara stood in her office on the 7th floor of their new building, funded by donations, grants, and the substantial proceeds from Kang's book, which had become an international bestseller on criminal justice reform. Through the window, she could see Seoul's skyline, transformed over the past 15 years into something even more spectacular. Her phone buzzed. A text from Hyun Woo. He's here. Zara took a breath, checked her reflection in the glass. She'd let her hair grow out, natural coils framing her face. The amber eyes that had once been her trademark were uncovered, confident. She wore a simple black suit, professional, powerful. 15 years since she'd infiltrated Kang's estate as a maid. 15 years since they'd fought together to stop Nakamoto. 12 years since she'd last seen him outside the confines of a prison visiting room. She took the elevator down to the lobby. Kang stood just inside the entrance, looking awkward in civilian clothes. Dark jeans, a gray sweater, carrying a single bag that contained everything he owned. He was 51 now, his hair shot through with silver, the scar on his face more prominent. But his eyes were the same, dark, intense, and completely focused on her. Hi, he said. Hi yourself. Zara couldn't help the smile spreading across her face. Welcome to Phoenix. It's beautiful. You built something amazing. We built something amazing. This wouldn't exist without you. She gestured around the lobby, where photos of rescued victims, faces blurred for privacy, lined the walls. 1,407 people saved, 34 networks dismantled, $90 million recovered and redistributed. That's your legacy. That's our legacy, he corrected. I just provided the blueprint. You did the actual work. They stood there, neither quite sure how to navigate this moment. 15 years of letters, emails, visits through prison glass, but this was different. This was real, tangible. Finally, Zara broke the tension. Come on, let me show you your office. She led him through the building, introducing him to staff members who knew him from reputation, from his book, from the stories Zara had told over the years. Everyone greeted him with respect, tinged with curiosity, the legendary criminal who'd turned his life around. His office was on the 6th floor, next to Zara's, modest but comfortable, with a window overlooking the city. On his desk sat a small jade pendant, Min So's pendant, the one he'd given Zara 15 years ago. I thought you should have it back, Zara said quietly. This work is her legacy too. Kang picked up the pendant, his hands trembling slightly. Thank you for keeping it safe, for keeping her dream alive. She'd be proud of you, of what you've become. I hope so. He set the pendant down carefully. So, what's my first assignment? Zara handed him a file. We have intel on a trafficking network operating between Myanmar and Thailand, similar structure to Nakamoto's old roots. We need someone who understands how these organizations think, how they operate, where their vulnerabilities are. Kang opened the file, his expression shifting into analytical mode. She could see him processing the information, making connections, identifying patterns. This is good intelligence, he said, but there's something missing, the financial structure. They're using cryptocurrency, but the exchange points aren't listed. We need to know where they're converting digital currency to cash. That's where they're vulnerable. That's what I thought. Can you find it? Give me 48 hours and Ghost's help. I'll find it. They worked through the afternoon, falling into an easy rhythm. Zara's strategic thinking complementing Kang's tactical expertise. Years of separate experience combining into something more effective than either could achieve alone. As the sun set over Seoul, painting the office in golden light, Zara looked up from her laptop to find Kang watching her. What? She asked. Just thinking how strange life is. 15 years ago, you infiltrated my home to arrest me. Now we're colleagues, partners. We were always partners, Zara said. Even when we were on opposite sides, we were fighting for the same thing. Were we? Kang's voice was quiet. Because I'm starting to think I was fighting for something else entirely. I told myself it was justice for Min Seo, but lately I've been wondering if it was really about finding someone who understood. Someone who could see the worst parts of me and still believe I could be better. Zara's breath caught. Kang, I know this is complicated. I'm on parole. You're my employer. The power dynamics are all wrong. I'm not asking for anything except honesty. These past 12 years, every visit, every letter, every conversation, they weren't just professional for me. Were they for you? The question hung between them, demanding truth. No, Zara admitted, they weren't just professional, but I didn't let myself think about what that meant. Because you were in prison and I was building Phoenix, and there were always reasons to focus on the work instead of this. And now I'm terrified. The confession burst out before she could stop it, because I've spent 15 years telling myself that what I felt was respect, admiration, partnership. But it's more than that. It's always been more than that, and I don't know what to do with that. Kang stood slowly, crossed to where she sat. He knelt down so they were eye level, his expression open in a way she'd never seen before. We don't have to do anything, he said gently. We can just be colleagues, friends. That's enough. That's more than I ever thought I'd have again. But what if it's not enough? Zara whispered. What if I want... She stopped herself, but Kang finished the sentence. What if you want something that terrifies you because it means being vulnerable, because it means trusting someone who's hurt people, because it means acknowledging that your feelings don't follow professional boundaries or moral certainties? Yes, then we go slow, so slow it's almost glacial. We work together. We build trust. We see if this thing between us is real or just adrenaline and shared trauma and the intimacy of fighting the same fight. His hand hovered near hers, not quite touching. And maybe, eventually, we figure out if there's a version of this where we're both happy. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's probably the most complicated thing either of us will ever do. But Zara, I've spent 15 years becoming someone worthy of a second chance. If you're willing to give me that chance, not as a colleague, not as a partner in crime fighting, but as someone who wants to know you outside of all this, I promise I won't waste it. Zara looked at this man who'd been a criminal, an enemy, an ally, a friend, who'd sacrificed everything to stop an atrocity, who'd spent 15 years in prison and emerged somehow better than before, who looked at her like she was the most important thing in the world. "Okay," she said. "Glacially slow, professional boundaries maintained, but also dinner, sometimes, when appropriate. Dinner sounds perfect." His hand finally touched hers, just fingers brushing, tentative and careful, but it felt like a beginning. The event was packed with donors, rescued victims sharing their success stories, and politicians who'd learned that supporting anti-trafficking efforts was good PR. Zara moved through the crowd in a midnight blue gown, shaking hands and thanking supporters. Across the room, Kang was talking with a group of young activists, answering questions about his book and his work. He wore a suit that actually fit him now. Mrs. Back had insisted on taking him shopping, claiming his prison pallor needed offsetting with proper tailoring. They'd been glacially slow, exactly as promised. Dinner once a week, gradually becoming twice a week. Coffee meetings that turned into long walks through Seoul. Working late at the office and realizing they were laughing more than strategizing. 6 months ago, he'd kissed her for the first time after a successful operation that had saved 43 children from a trafficking ring in Vietnam. It had been spontaneous, joyful, and absolutely right. 3 months ago, she'd told him she loved him. He'd said it back without hesitation. Now, as the gala wound down and guests started leaving, Kang found her on the balcony overlooking the city. "Successful night," he said, joining her at the railing. "Very. We raised enough to expand operations into 3 new countries." Zara leaned against him, comfortable and easy. "Mrs. Beck says she's proud of us." High praise for Mrs. Beck. Kang's arm wrapped around her waist. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small box, and Zara's heart stuttered. "Before you panic," he said quickly, "it's not what you think. I mean, it's related to what you think, but it's not exactly, I'm doing this badly. You're babbling. You never babble. You make me nervous." He opened the box. Inside was a jade pendant, a phoenix rising from flames, intricately carved to match Mincio's pendant that still sat on his desk. "I had this made. Phoenix rising, like the foundation, like us, really, rising from the ashes of who we used to be. Kang, it's beautiful. There's an inscription." He turned it over. Engraved on the back were 2 words, "After Darkness." "From your book title," Zara said, understanding. "From darkness. But this says after darkness, because we're after it now, past the darkness into something better. And Zara," he took a breath, "I know we said glacially slow. I know we're still figuring this out, but I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life figuring it out with you. So this isn't an engagement ring, but it's a promise that when you're ready, when we're both ready, I'll ask properly, with all the traditional ceremony and nervousness, and hope that you'll say yes." Zara took the pendant, fastened it around her neck where it rested next to Mincio's. 2 phoenixes, 2 chances at redemption. "Ask me now," she said. "What? Ask me now. I'm ready." She turned to face him fully, taking his hands. "Kang Tae Min, I love you. I love who you've become and who you're still becoming. I love that you fight for people who can't fight for themselves. I love that you spent 15 years becoming worthy of a second chance, and now you're spending every day proving you deserve it. So ask me." Kang's expression shifted through disbelief, hope, and pure joy. He dropped to one knee on the balcony, still holding her hands. "Zara Okonkwo, will you marry me?" "Yes!" He stood, lifted her, and kissed her while Soul's lights glittered around them like promises. When they finally broke apart, both laughing, Zara saw Mrs. Beck watching from the doorway with tears streaming down her face. "She approves," Zara said. "She told me last week that Mincio would have loved you, that she'd be happy I found someone who challenges me and believes in me and makes me want to be better every day. I do believe in you. In us, in what we're building together. From darkness to light, from enemies to allies to partners, to this, Zara agreed. To us, to Phoenix, to everyone we've saved and everyone we're going to save, to second chances, and third chances, and fourth chances, as many chances as it takes." They stood on the balcony as the last guests left, as Mrs. Beck turned off lights and locked doors, as the city breathed around them. Two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something beautiful from the wreckage. Kang's past would always be there, the crimes, the prison time, the darkness he'd lived in, but it would be his past, not his present, not his future. And Zara's scars would always be there too. The missions that went wrong, the people she couldn't save, the weight of responsibility she carried. But together, they were something neither could be alone. Proof that redemption was possible, that people could change, that from the ashes of who they'd been, they could rise as something better. Phoenix rising, always rising. The end.